Welcome back again. Yeah, listen, it's just that I want to get through the main three before, and probably won't be posting at all. Like, actually, let's see if I can do one during the school session because I want to think about it. I'm putting it away. So today we are going to be talking about this guy, the wizard. You probably know a lot about them. Basically, a wizard is, while a sorcerer got their magic from the bloodline, warlock made a pact with a patron. They have studied it. They are very intelligent, which is why intelligence is their main casting. They draw from intelligence, and they get a buck ton of spells. Actually, I'll show you guys. Sorry, just spell section. Should probably see it. So you can see where it starts and where it ends. So yeah, they get a buck ton of spells from their because they are that smart. So a wizard, what makes them very unique and their life and blood is their spellbook, which is exactly what you think it is a book where every single spell that a wizard knows is written down because apparently they got short-term memory loss and can't remember how to remember how to cast a shield. But yeah, they can do some fun stuff with it. They can copy spells into their spellbook. So if they find a spell from a spell scroll or another wizard's spellbook, they can spend 2 hours and 24 gold pieces to write it down. Which the 2 hours are to decipher it because, well, it's I guess hard to try to translate someone else's handwriting than your own, and the 50 gold is like basically experimenting to say, okay, this is how it works. Then you can also replace it, like, because one of the biggest thing that makes that a wizard should be afraid of is if their spellbook get destroyed. Because yeah, it can happen, and if you aren't prepared for it, then you only have the spells which you have prepared. Which, unlike the warlock and the sorcerer, wizards don't remember all their spells, have all them prepared. I think it's like their intelligence modifier plus the level, meaning you won't have access to all your spells. So yeah, but you can replace them into another spellbook to have a backup copy, which I heavily recommend that you have at least one, just in case your spellbook gets destroyed. Then you have one that okay, I've documented every spell and now haven't lost anything. But it does only take 10 hours and 20 gold to copy it every level to copy it, because well, the 10 gold are mostly because of paper and ink, and the 1 hour is because it's a lot easier to translate your own handwriting because, well, you're the one who's writing it. So yeah, they get their spellbook, and I'm going to touch briefly on the 8 different schools of magic because they are really intertwined with the wizard because they've got 8 subclasses, one for each school. All right. We've got the School of Abjuration, which is a defensive school. Basically, a lot of their spells are, for example, Shield, or Counterspell, or Globe of Invul, a protective magical circle. Basically, a lot of them are defensive magic to keep other people out and yourself in. Another spell which count is Banishment, where you. So in some cases, a abjuration can actually be one of the best tools a person needs. For an example is banishing a demon that is causing a lot of trouble, which actually does pretty well segue into the School of Conjuration, which is my personal favorite. Just so I might have some bias against it. But the School of Conjuration is summoning magic. Because there are 3 different types of conjuration where you can specialize even more, but it's the School of Transport. The first thing you probably thought when you thought about the idea of summoning is summoning a demon, or a fae, or an elemental to fight for you, which is the main one, yet it's one of the 4 where you can basically summon something else to fight for you. The second one is that you can summon stuff, like a invisible hand, or summon a cloud of daggers that just rains upon your enemies. And the third one, which is incredibly useful in adventure partying especially, is that they can open up portals to other dimensions. Because in the D&D lore, the Earth isn't the only dimension that exists. There is the 4 elemental planes of fire, water, earth, and air. There is Limbo, the dimension of chaos. So there are other dimensions, which means that if something were to go wrong, a conjuration could open up a portal back out so you all can leave. The School of Divination is foretelling the future. You see into the past of something. For example, 2 spells that are in it which are incredibly useful for adventuring is Detect Magic, or basically you can sense magical auras, which for me it's played a little bit different because technically in my worlds anyone can read a person's magical aura, but what Detect Magic does is exactly tell them what spell has been used. Because in my world, if a wizard comes in, they'll be able to sense that there was magic and be able to track down whose magic it was, but they can't tell which spell was used. Meaning, with Detect Magic, it tells you, okay, there was the shield, firebolt, mage armor, banishment, cloud of daggers. They can basically tell you which spell was used. Identify is a useful spell because it tells you what a magical item does and how many charges that it has left. So it basically tells you, okay, this cloak turns you invisible. This ring makes you immune to being to mind control, that sort of stuff. Enchantment is I wouldn't exactly call it the dark school of magic, but it's basically magical lies. You tell a magical lie to make a person do something for you. And of course, one of the main downfalls of the enchantment school is that those lies don't last forever, and people tend to be pretty pissed when someone lies to them, so a recommendation is that to run, which is a lot of what it's about. Evocation is probably the school that you probably have heard the most of, which is elemental magic, basically, where you manipulate the pure, raw magic, which can really the most fun part of it is because it's so very much contradictory. It has the 2 like yin and yang. You get elemental magic, which is designed to hurt, but also is home to healing magic, like healing word, or cure wounds, or heal. So yeah, it's a fun part about it is because, okay, we've got the damage, and then we got heal, which is usually why evocation and abjuration tend to be the most combat oriented of the other 8, which is why usually in my world that if a military has access to magic, it's usually abjuration and evocation. Then we've got my second favorite school, which is the School of Illusions. Basically, illusions are, well, they are what they are. You are tricking someone, making them hear something that isn't there, making them see something. Really, illusion magic is very much dependent on the imagination of the caster, because a person with low imagination won't be able to use it because they can't think outside the box, which is what the illusion school of magic is very much dependent on. If you have a very out of the box thinking and creativity, you're probably going to get pretty far. some spells, and especially one which is incredibly useful, is invisibility. And what makes them even more fun, especially at 14th level, is that temporarily you can make those illusions real. As long as they can't hurt someone. And it only lasts for like a minute. But just think about that. You are technically blurring the line between illusion and reality. Where by 14th level, you won't know if that dagger coming at you is an illusion or actually there. Then there is the School of Necromancy, which the School of Necromancy is probably the smallest. Like most mages don't really study it because most of their the people who study them are usually insane or just murder hobos. But it's the manipulation of death, like like summoning dead people or talking to dead people, and even at 14th level you can command the dead. So it's basically like the manipulation of life and death. Then there is the School of Transmutation, which, if you have ever heard of the pseudoscience which is called alchemy, it's very much like it, or I've watched Full Metal Alchemist. Basically, you can manipulate the world to your liking. You can augment someone's body to, say, make them quicker or make them stronger. They've got access to a very, very, varied school because they have some, like the Goodberry, which is a healing spell. They got basically, it's very much like a pseudoscience, like you're manipulating the world around you to your liking. A master of transmutation sooner will be able to curse someone, manipulate gravity, like making a zero gravity, and stop time. So yeah, that's the wizard. They've got access to a lot of spells. Meaning if you want a character that has a buck ton of spells, which basically if you want to be like that guy that has a spell for any occasion, it's probably the wizard you're going for. But remember, and this is a good thing to actually mention now when I think about it, is that just because you choose a school doesn't mean that you can't use spells from others. Because looking here, a lot of them have something called a savant, like the abjuration, conjuration savant. Basically it means that it costs less for you to learn a spell from that school, but you can still use other schools, meaning you can still be a wizard studying in the School of Evocation, but you can still learn illusion spells or abjuration. It's just that those spells cost less for you to copy into your book. So this was it. It's probably gonna be the last for the day, but thanks for listening. See you guys.